Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Wald. Thank you so much for joining me today for this important conversation all about berries, entitled This Fruit Could Add Years to Your Life. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I have a board certification in nutrition, a master's degree in nutrition. I'm a dietitian and sports nutritionist. I'm also a life coach. I provide acupuncture to my clients, and I did attend medical school, graduated, earned my MD diploma, but decided not to get an active license in medicine. So let's get into this very important topic. I mean, most of us know that berries are healthy, but are there also instances where people should not have berries? So we're going to talk about that. How much is too much? How do we know berries are actually affecting the various aspects of our health that we want them to? So I'll talk about some of my blood detective laboratory picks to help discern that. So let's begin first by reminding you that this information is for your education. It's not meant as a substitute for sound medical or health advice. So, as I mentioned, there are studies that say that berries can add years to one's life. Now, if you have a terrible diet, if you're not exercising, you may have some bad genetics or other health issues where eating berries, no matter how many you eat, will simply not help you, could even hurt you, which again, we'll get to in a moment. So, of course, you need to consider this information in context of a balanced diet, whatever that is for you. But if you think that only adding berries will afford you several years of living longer, you're probably not going to experience that. But there are exceptions. But as a general rule, we need to make a number of changes, but this is a very important one. So, blueberries, for example, are among the most longevity boosting fruits favored by dietitians and researchers for their various health benefits. These berries are loaded with anthocyanins, powerful antioxidants that combat inflammation and oxidative stress. And inflammation and oxidative stress are at the base of practically all human diseases. Eating just a third of 1 cup of blueberries daily may reduce the risk of many chronic diseases that can shorten a lifespan. Blueberries contain large amounts of antioxidants, which help against various age-related conditions like heart disease, diabetes, and neurological disorders. So, for example, if I do a test called a cardiobeam, which helps to tell me the biological age of someone's arteries, and let's say they're 30 years old and their arteries are 55 years old, and they add berries and clean up their diet in other ways, we should see a measurable change in the arterial system such that the blood vessels get softer due to reduced inflammation and reduced oxidative stress, which was allowed by the consumption of berries. So there are tests that can be used to prove more or less if your efforts are working. High fiber content supports gut health, and obviously fiber is needed as an undigestible source that bacteria in our guts act on, producing more beneficial bacteria and also very helpful elements like butyric and caprylic acid in the intestinal tract, which allows for the gut to heal. So berries also provide that. But there are some individuals who should avoid berries. Not every food is healthy for everyone. For example, berries can cause allergic reactions in sensitive people. They may interfere with blood clotting. Excess fiber can cause bloating and diarrhea. So fruitarians usually are farting all the time and have digestive issues. I know this because I've met many of them over my 33 years of practice. Natural sugars don't fit strict low carbohydrate diets. Some people may be sensitive to, their blood sugars may be sensitive to their intake of fruit. Although, generally speaking, fruits which are comprised mostly of fructose are a lot easier to handle than, let's say, glucose and sucrose. Sucrose is table sugar. And glucose, you'll find that pretty much in grapes. Grapes are the only fruit, as I recall, that are mostly glucose, so they're going to metabolize a lot more quickly than every other fruit, which is mostly fructose. So fructose-containing fruits like berries are better for blood sugar overall than, let's say, grapes. However, after I go for a long run, I eat grapes because I want my blood sugar to come up quickly and in a healthful way. So there are times when more simpler or sugars that are digested more quickly are actually the thing to do. There's a risk of pesticide residues if the fruit is non-organic. Seeds and the skins may irritate the digestive tract of some people. Natural sugars, as I mentioned earlier, don't fit strict low carbohydrate diets. So if you're doing a low carbohydrate diet, you might have to limit your sugar and your berries, for example. A possible interaction with medications. For example, not berries, but mostly grapefruits have a chemical compound known as naringenin, which can affect the detoxification pathway of many drugs. And berries also may interfere with the detoxification and activation of several medications. Processed forms, often high in added sugar. Berries can stain the teeth, and they're relatively expensive compared to other fruits. So there are reasons why a person should not eat berries. You simply may not like their taste. What I tend to do is I will make smoothies sometimes more than once a day, and I pack them with berries of all types, and I'll use my superfoods, which give me the equivalent of bowls and bowls of dehydrated berries and other plants, which have all manner of health potential. So, for example, these fruits contain compounds called polyphenols. So, the polyphenols in blueberries further enhance digestive wellness. 70% of our immune system is in our small intestine. We also need polyphenols to help us in the large colon and also the stomach. And then there's regular consumption of berries may lower the risk of hypertension, high cholesterol, and heart attacks. Just by adding those to the diet could make the difference for many people. And also, berries may help reduce insulin sensitivity and actually help the body handle sugars better. What about berries in the brain? Early evidence suggests blueberries may support cognitive function, may support reduction of inflammation, and specifically, a higher intake of berries has been shown to reduce one's risk of Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease is a condition where the nervous system is degenerating in areas that control motor function. And berries are versatile and easy to incorporate in your diet. Just think of smoothies, like I mentioned, also salads, yogurt, cereals, and just by themselves. I remember when my kids were small, my youngest is 25 at the time of this video, my oldest is 30, where they would be constantly eating frozen blueberries, and they're very, very healthy adults now. And so you might be wondering, well, how do you know that the amount of berries you're eating is ideal? And maybe adding berries is the only thing you're willing to do to improve your health and not change your diet and lifestyle. Well, that's fine if it's your choice. So how would you know if these things are helping? You can't just rely on feeling better. So you might want to consider some of my blood detective lab suggestions. Now, when I sit down with a client, I determine based on conversation, examination, many questionnaires, other lab tests, exactly what tests I would want to do with that person. So these are just a couple of general examples. I might test you, I might do all of these tests with you, or I might do just some of them and then yet others, depending on your total health picture and health goals. But you want to consider managing oxidative stress, number one here on the on this particular slide, because we're claiming that berries can lower oxidative stress. So you can check various levels of oxidative stress. I give you a couple of examples here. One of them is MDA, malonyl-dialdehyde, and the lower that is, the more effective your berry consumption is for lowering of inflammation. And then there's high sensitivity C-reactive protein, or CRP, a key marker of systemic inflammation and is often lowered by berry intake. And high levels of that are associated with increased risk of cardiovascular disease, persistent infections, and other chronic diseases. Your lipid profiles, you want to see your cholesterol go down, you want to see your HDL go up, you want to see your triglycerides go down, etc. Fasting insulin and hemoglobin A1C, that's a good one. Hemoglobin A1C is a several month average of your blood sugar. If you're trying to control your blood sugar, you can actually help do that with berries more often than not, even though they contain sugar. Because one of the reasons might be that berries will lower inflammation, and we know that inflammation can raise blood sugar. There are many things that can raise blood sugar other than sugar. Pollution is another example. You breathe in pollutants, they make their way into your pancreas, they create inflammatory and degenerative stress to the beta cells of the pancreas, which produce insulin, and then you have insulin resistance. I've also done a podcast on non-sugar ways to raise blood sugar. You might want to look at that. And then there is endothelial function, which is the inside of blood vessels, and checking nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator in the body, which helps with circulation and nutrient delivery, and then various gut tests. So if you're looking to improve your health and you're thinking you want to add berries or maybe more berries, consider doing some baseline testing and then rechecking the tests after a certain period of time with the guidance of a qualified healthcare provider, and then you could know. I like to have evidence myself when I know something's working, which is why I check my blood work at least every 6 months. I identify early issues, I make adjustments to my diet and lifestyle, I check them again, they work, then I know what I'm doing is working. Thank you all for joining me today for this conversation all about berries, and we'll see you at the next podcast. Thank you.